Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I will tell you that my last English Springer Spaniel was a dream. She was housebroken very quickly. She was also a lot more independent. So if I was going to identify any, behavioral like differences between the two, she was extremely independent. Um, but I trained her the exact same way that I trained Jessie, right? So I crate train my dog. We do a lot of exercise. We walk a lot. I socialize my dogs a lot. I literally feel like I did nothing different. I left her with, over Jessie overnight with my parents. I've left her overnight with handlers because this one is actually a show dog. If I,
Okay.
identify any differences. But that also means that she has a lot of different people around her. She's touched by a lot of different people. We've never had any issues. Here we are, fast forward into COVID,
Yeah.
and the show circuit clearly is not happening, right? I have had to leave my home in New York City, where Jessie and I lived together and where I raised her as a puppy. She's now 2.5 years old. Um, she was pack walked every day, right? I had like someone on her every day for 5 or 6 hours a day. Um, Jesse, hey, just trying to get out something. Um, never had an issue with this type of behavior. So we're home in COVID. Tensions in the house are high. I'm sure you can probably imagine people are in living spaces that they normally would not be in. Everybody's stressed out. Um, I got a stress fracture, which meant that she wasn't getting as much exercise as she normally gets. So this is back in the beginning of COVID.
Okay.
Why is this important? Because it made me sort of reevaluate what the future was for her. And I said, I think that this is the right time for me to get her spayed, right? So at end of show life, she goes in to get spayed. It was like the June timeframe. And then in July, she started going to doggy daycare. So she goes there 3 days a week. I've also asked them, and so this is, for months, she's been going there 3 days a week. I also asked them if they noticed any issues with behavior, aggression, anything. They're like, no, she's so happy here. She plays really well. She has a best friend, all that other stuff. So I'm getting all of the right signals from everybody, but unfortunately, I know, Jesse, that this has something to do with me because I don't know exactly how to react in this particular situation. This is not a situation that I've had with any of my dogs before. So, probably about a month and a half ago, I started to notice that she was lip curling a little bit.
Mhm.
And it was very surprising and very, what I would say, inappropriate. I realized that she has not had the same discipline in this house that she would have had if she was alone with me. But I've tried to provide her the proper exercise. She has access to her toys, like she's well fed, all of this other stuff. So I'm kind of, it happened the first time that it happened, it was outside. She like had a leaf or something in her mouth. And I mean, this is a
Oh, sure.
dog again, when she's on the show circuit, she's on that table, she's got random people like opening her mouth, looking at her teeth, never had an issue. She had something in her mouth and I went in to get it, which I would have done a million times before, and she sneered at me. And I was so taken back. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that was about, but we're going to keep an eye on that. So then I can't remember. It happened one other time with me, and it was just the sneer, the lip curling and the sneering. And I was like, it's that moment when it happens, Jesse, that
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. I don't want to, she responds really well to like the coin can.
Mhm.
And, she was barking excessively or, jumping or doing something like that. I would use it, but
Mhm.
I wasn't quite sure. So it escalated. And this was when I reached out to Maddie and she directed me to you. She was laying on the bed with me about a week and a couple of days ago. And I had been letting her sleep in the bed since we've been here. Instead of, I do have her crate set up and she's been in the crate since this happened at night. Just so you know, she's not allowed, I have not allowed her on the couch, the bed, any of that other extra stuff.
Mhm.
So she was laying in bed with me, and I went to move her. And not only did she snare, she showed teeth, and she would have bit me if she had the opportunity. I had my iPad on me, and put it in front of her face, like just in time.
Mhm.
I mean, there was, I do know how to react in that split second. I just don't know what to do.
Mhm.
I also, most importantly, I don't know what to do. And then important, my secondary issue is trying to figure out why this is happening or where it's coming from, because the trigger does not seem to be common. It wasn't like, oh, this happened before outside. I wasn't trying to take something out of her mouth. Um, I'm not sure if she's being a brat. I'm not sure if this is a disciplinary issue,
Mhm.
if some aggression is coming out. My vet had told me a long time ago, he's like, cockers and springers are fear biters, right? And I'd never had that issue, so it just wasn't on my radar.
Mhm.
I don't think it's a case of rage. Um, it like, she does have this split second moment where I feel like she's so angry, she zones out, but then as soon as she's like, "Oh, mommy, it's you. I'm sorry," and she tries to start licking me and, all this other stuff. I just so here we are. I'm not sure
Okay.
how to handle this.
How do you know Maddie?
Through Instagram.
Gotcha. I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out. I was like, how do we have someone from New York? Like it happens, but so that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I've been following her on Instagram, and I felt like she was doing a lot of good, positive work. And I'm interested, like, want to get this under control, because next year I'm actually interested in fostering a puppy just like she is, the seeing eye dog or a therapy dog.
Mhm.
I know she's in more of the training mode with him right now. But I'm interested in helping people raise them.
Mhm.
This is a behavior that I obviously don't want another dog to pick up on. I refuse. I will tell you right now, Jesse, I refuse to be afraid of my own dog.
Mhm.
And if somebody told me that this was a situation where she had to be put down, I would do it.
Mhm.
I love this dog with my entire heart, but do not get me wrong. I will not tolerate a dog that is going to bite.
Sure. So you've had two instances of this behavior. Is that correct?
Hmm. That's
Okay.
correct.
So I view things very differently. So like right now, you had just talked about like putting her down if needed or whatever, right?
Hmm.
Is when it comes to aggressive responses, I think the common mentality or thought process is, a dog being aggressive is unacceptable,
Hmm.
right? And I look at aggression much like, a human getting angry.
Hmm.
And you had mentioned something about like her getting angry, like you're kind of using similar terminology there. So it's like saying, you would kill someone just because they got angry,
Understood.
right? And I'm not saying I'm going to go more in depth. Okay, I'm going to go more in
Yes.
depth.
Yes.
Um, so the aggressive response is normal.
Okay.
Okay. Um, what's so because there's a context behind it, there's meaning behind it, and when
Mhm.
you understand dog for dog, that's
Mhm.
where I start to have an issue with a lot of other trainers.
Mhm.
Because they'll say like, oh, like a dog should never bite a human. I'm like, but dogs bite
Mhm.
dogs. They're not like,
Right.
they bite each other. That's how they
Mhm.
correct. That's how they handle things. That's how they resolve
Yep.
issues. That's how they discipline. That's their nature. So they're
Yep.
essentially being put down for their nature, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's one thing. And the other thing here is this is contextual because you
Okay.
said one time you were reaching in her mouth, one time she
Mhm.
was on the bed,
Yep.
correct?
Mhm.
Both
Correct.
instances are resource guarding.
Okay.
Okay, but you have
Okay.
like subcontexts. You have one when she
Mhm.
had an object in her mouth, and you have one when
Mhm.
she was on a resting place.
Yep.
Okay,
Mhm.
so the positive here is that there's a workaround.
Okay.
Okay, so like if I know I have a dog that resource guards the couch. Okay, for
Mhm.
example, I know if I approach that dog's gonna curl its lip at me and become aggressive.
Mhm.
Okay, the workaround would be if I don't have any formal tools with me or something like that, is like, let's say I just went to the cupboard and I grabbed a bag of treats and the dog came over. I
Mhm.
removed the context of the dog resource guarding the
Mhm.
couch because the dog's not on the couch. There's nothing to guard anymore. right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a workaround. Or I just teach the dog, hey, when I tell you to leave the couch, without me actively touching the dog
Mm-hmm.
learns that they need to clear the space.
Yep.
So I'm able to, it's technically a workaround, but I'm not needing to use treats. I just say,
Mm-hmm.
get off the couch, and the dog
Mm-hmm.
goes, so there's nothing to
Right.
guard anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
When it comes to the object in the mouth, I teach a release command,
Mm-hmm.
which is out. I say out. Some people say drop or whatever. So if the dog is taught to reliably to release something that's within their possession,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing again to guard. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to look primitively. And I know
Mm-hmm.
how old is Jessie?
2.5.
2.5. So she's a young pup. Okay.
Yeah, and I think like I immediately go to the worst case scenario because the 2-year-old time frame is typically when Springer owners say that the rage becomes an issue.
Mhm.
So that was obviously I was extremely upset when she reacted the way she did last week on the bed. Um, and I mean, I know 3 generations back of this dog on the mother and the father side,
Mhm.
and there has never been a history of aggression, which is what made me think, like, I don't think this is a rage issue. Um, I understand what you're saying about the resource guarding. Okay, I'm listening.
So, and um, I think there's a lot of myths out in the
Mhm,
dog world, like pit
mhm,
bulls with lockjaw.
mhm.
Have you ever heard of that?
Yep.
Right? Once they get a hold of something, or like if a dog tastes blood, like oh, like
Mhm,
you can't curb the aggression or whatever. It's all
mhm.
BS.
Well,
Okay.
that I know because my last Springer was fed raw food and she never
Yeah, a lot of dogs are fed raw, right? So it's all BS. Okay. So this whole thing of rage, and to be honest with you, I'm completely ignorant of that. I could talk to Maddie. I'm sure she can inform me of it. But when a dog becomes aggressive, how do you feel? Like, let's say Jessie became aggressive towards another dog,
Mhm,
okay,
mhm.
and that
Yeah.
dog was not going to accept it. What do you think the response would be?
Um, what do you mean between the 2 of them or for me?
So yeah, let's say Jessie, there's Jessie and another dog, right?
Mhm,
And Jessie has an aggressive response to that other dog, and
mhm,
that dog uh, is not going to tolerate it and
mhm.
responds to Jessie.
Yep.
How do you think that dog would respond in order to stop Jessie's act of aggression?
So it's either gonna be met with an equal level of aggression or the dog is gonna take off in the other direction. In either
Correct.
situation, I am horribly embarrassed, just to, like, to let you know,
It's okay.
like
Yes. Let's leave that component out, okay? Because we're just talking dog now.
Okay.
Is yes, either or would be correct. The third variable would be the dog responds with a higher level of
Okay.
aggression. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's either the dog goes, I'm going to give you what you gave me to see if
Yep.
you de escalate. I
Mhm.
leave the situation because I don't want to deal with you, or I'm going to overdo it and make sure you don't do that again. And that will, I've walked into homes with dead dogs.
Mhm.
So there is no real limitation there.
Okay.
Okay. So if someone brought me a Springer Spaniel and said, this dog has a case of the rage or whatever it is,
Mhm.
I just look at the dog and I go, this is a dog that has not been corrected.
Mhm.
This is a dog whose aggression has gone unchecked,
Okay.
which makes it look like it's uncontrollable because the most common
Mhm.
approach to dog training now is fix everything with treats.
Mhm.
And that does not
Yeah.
work. That's why I'm here,
No.
you know.
Mhm.
Um, and whether it's obedience or whether it's behavior, there has to be
Mhm.
some kind of aversive to
Yep.
make what we do or say to our dog or with our dog mean something. Okay.
Mhm.
So like I was raised old school, I was spanked. So
Mhm.
when
Yep.
my mom said
Same.
don't do that, it was just don't do that. And then
Mhm.
I would do it again and then I got spanked.
Mhm. Yep.
Now don't do that has a
Mhm.
totally different connotation because now
Mhm.
there's physical consequence attached to it.
Yep.
Okay. So if in your case is a little bit different, if Jessie were to be having like reactive moments where she's lunging on the leash at other dogs and or at people and like
Mhm.
just barking and snapping and all that stuff, I just look at that and I go, that's not rage. I'm like, because I see that with a lot of breeds. Okay. And the age that it triggers doesn't matter to me either. Because I've had dogs be fine and then they get attacked by an off leash dog when they're 5 and all of a sudden they're reactive. You know, lots of things can happen. As I go, this is a dog that just needs discipline. This is a dog that needs to be spanked or quote unquote bitten to be put in their place to realize like, oh crap, like I can't get away with this stuff. Okay. Now, why she would start resource guarding at the age of 2.5, I don't know. And it makes no difference if you found out the reason or not, because the solution would be the same.
Okay.
Because people get too caught up in the why.
Yep.
Why did this happen? And I go into the how. How am I going to fix this? Okay. Because I get lots of people who get dogs and they think, I think my dog was abused, you know, when they were, you know, the puppy or whatever. And I'll go, why? Like, how do you know? They're like, well, like, if I pick up the broom, the dog like runs away. I'm like, I've seen puppies run away from brooms and never seen a broom in their life. They're just scared of the broom, like, because they don't know what a broom is, like a human does, right? And I've had dogs where they had bullet holes and stab wounds, and they were the sweetest dogs, but there was clearly signs of abuse, you know? So the why never matters to me. I just go into the how, okay? Your case is a bit different because it's contextual. So, and when it comes to solving the problem for removing an object from a dog's mouth, and I know you said at the show they look at the teeth and everything. That's different though, because there's no object. There's nothing that she's valuing inside her mouth. Okay? Now, I think you mentioned that you've removed stuff from her mouth several times before. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So imagine, do you have any brothers or sisters?
No, just me.
You're an only child? Okay. So I have 2 brothers and a sister. I'm the oldest. Okay. And growing up, they would go into my room and like get my stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And in the beginning, I'm like, Mom, right? And I'll tell them. And eventually they did it so many times. And one day I was like, I'm gonna put this in my own hands.
Yeah.
I'm gonna discipline my brother myself. Now that didn't work out well because then my mom disciplined me for doing something that was out of my place.
Yeah.
But imagine that for Jessie here. For 2.5 years, you've been going in her mouth and taking things of value. You're stealing every single time. You're stealing, and then finally at 2.5 years, she goes, "You know what? Tired of it. I'm gonna show you my teeth and say like I'm not gonna let you do that anymore." Right? Or maybe you just happen to pull something out of her mouth that she never valued that high before, and now she goes, "I don't want you to take this because I know what happens." Okay. Does that start to make more sense now?
Yep, it makes sense.
So people, you know, because they're like, "Oh, I'm the human, that's the dog." You know, they shouldn't do that. I'm like, when you break it down and you understand it, it's a very different thought process. Okay, that's why I always want to educate people. And then maybe with the whole bed thing, I'm sure you've probably removed her several times over the course of 2.5 years. Okay, so and this happened after the mouth thing.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Potentially, the mouth thing happened. She gained a little bit of confidence, and now the ego grows. And now it's like, now I'm going to try it here, right? And then I'm going to try it here. So what can look like, I mean, it's technically a growing problem, but it's a growing problem because it's not being handled correctly, and the ego keeps inflating. Okay, so that's why we teach the release command, because when I teach the release, the dog is voluntarily or thinks they are voluntarily giving up the object.
Yep.
Okay, and going, okay, I don't want this anymore. You can have it because you told me. So that's no longer stealing. Okay, so we don't get the context of like snarling or whatever it is that you're seeing. Okay, now the tricky part that you're going to have here is if you did get another dog to foster or whatever, is that's a totally different dynamic now.
Yep.
Okay. Now I've seen dogs resource guard against humans, but not dogs. I've seen dogs resource guard against dogs, but not humans. Guard against both, guard against neither. Okay. So you could very well get another dog and there would be no problem. It'd be completely easy peasy. Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know that. Like we wouldn't know until you're in that context. what I
Mhm.
do is I assume. I always assume
Mhm.
with every single dog. Okay. I don't
Mhm.
care if there's the sweetest dog in the world. I actually had a client recently. I trained their first dog who was reactive. And then they recently got a golden retriever puppy and they
Mhm.
did some work with Maddie. And
Mhm.
then a month later, at 3 months, by the way, the puppy
Mhm.
bit the wife
Oh,
over a
okay.
rock,
Okay.
over a rock,
Mhm.
resource guarding,
Yep.
right? And then
Mhm.
bit her again over food. She was going to add food into
Mhm.
the bowl. Dog jumped
Yep.
and bit her in the hand again. 3 months.
Okay.
Okay. And
Mhm.
but everything, they're like golden retriever, sweet
Mhm.
little puppy,
Yep.
everything's going great. And all of a sudden they're
Yep.
like, whoa, like where did this come from? I'm like, welcome to having a
Mhm.
dog. Because
Yeah.
they're making all these judgments based upon the common thought process of golden
Mhm.
retrievers,
Mhm.
right? And I'm like, nope, that's genetics.
Yep.
Like your dog just happens to value things that much at that young of an age, which is not
Yep.
common, but it
Mhm.
happens. Okay.
Yeah.
So the way I operate is I go, okay, this is obviously we have something to work on here. But when
Mhm.
it comes to like trying to like foster a dog or anything like that, it's really just we don't know.
Mhm.
Okay. Until you and it could start off kind of rough in the beginning. And then after a
Mhm.
few days, everything smooths out and they're fine.
Mhm.
Because you also have to think that if Tammy's used to like just being an only dog for X period of time, and then you bring in another dog, there's
Mhm.
going to be some kind of hierarchy
Mhm.
shift
Yep.
there and challenges, and that's all completely normal for a dog.
Mhm. Right.
Does it all make sense?
It all makes sense. Yep.
Okay. So what is your goal here?
So I mean, in talking to you this time, what I really want to understand is how, number one, like, is putting limitations on her the right thing to do? I mean, immediately, like, I think it happened last Friday because I think I reached out to Maddie on Saturday. And I think it happened last Friday night. After it happened, um, I said to Maddie, I'm like, I had to walk away. I was so upset, right? It was like I was not only angry, but I was like emotional about it because I'm like, I can't believe that my dog just did this, right?
Mhm.
I waited a little bit because I didn't want her to see the crate as punishment. I put her in the crate as if I would have a million times before, like we were in my apartment. She knows, like, literally just the one night of going in her crate, she doesn't try to get up on the bed. She's been running right in the crate to get her. The other thing that I did last weekend, we haven't been off leash in a while. She is trained with a remote collar to be off leash.
Mhm.
So we went out for a while on Saturday and Sunday. Um, and we did some off leash training, and therefore I noticed, when we came home, right, my normal dog, like, her behavior felt very normal to me. Like, there wasn't anything that happened in this last week. Like, I feel like she very much remembers her place at this point. However, what I need to understand is, number one, what do I need to do when she reacts like this? Because it's happening, like I said, it doesn't seem consistent to me.
Mhm.
And then also, what should I be doing on a daily basis with her in order to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Okay. So one thing you mentioned earlier was like you had limited her privileges,
Yeah.
right? Like what was it like not being on
Mhm.
the furniture or something like that?
Nothing on the furniture. So she's sleeping in the crate at night, no on the bed, no on the furniture. The problem is, and this will be resolved soon, right now, because I'm home with my parents, my mother does not believe in the discipline that I believe in.
Okay.
So she's getting a little bit of an inconsistent message. It's consistent from me.
Mhm.
This will be resolved next week. But this last week, like, it was a little bit bumpy because I'm saying to my mother, she is not allowed on the chair. She's not allowed on the couch. She is on the floor. She's not getting extra treats. Like, there's no cooking her egg in the morning. Like, she's eating her kibble. That's it. There's only so much I can do, Jesse, right? So I'm sure you have many families where
Yeah.
somebody just doesn't want to be the heavy, right? And
Have
so
a
my
minute.
mom wants all dogs to love her. Um, so I feel like I will be in a better situation to implement whatever training you're going to give me, like, to start with her, because I will be alone with her for starting next week.
Okay. And you started this whole like no bed stuff or whatever, no couch stuff as a response. Is
Hmm.
that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So that stuff does and doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So like I get that a lot, or people say like you eat before your dog does, or you walk through a door before your dog walks through a door or whatever and all that stuff. Dogs don't think that way.
Hmm.
Okay. It's actually much simpler than that. Now, the way it does work for you is if she's becoming possessive over like a spot on the bed.
Hmm.
If she's not allowed on the bed, there's nothing to
Hmm.
guard.
Hmm.
So that's how
Yep.
that does work, because it's a
Yes.
preventative measure of like, well, if like earlier I said, one way would be if I know she's going to guard the couch and I grab a bag of treats and she comes running for the
Hmm.
treats, and I've essentially removed her from the resource and I go
Hmm.
and sit down before she does,
Hmm.
I've worked around the problem.
Yep.
So that's technically how that works for the um, that scenario.
Hmm.
But should she happen to sneak up on there when you're not looking,
Yeah.
and then you go to remove her,
Hmm.
you're gonna see it.
Yep.
Okay, so that stuff doesn't actually affect behaviors.
Hmm.
Okay, but in that one context, it can prevent it.
Hmm.
In the context of if she has an object in her mouth and you
Hmm.
want to remove it, her eating after you and her going in the doorway after you and her not being allowed on the bed or the couch has nothing to do with that.
Hmm.
That makes
Hmm.
sense? They're
Yep.
not related. Okay. Um, I have people that do all the wrong things that internet stuff says not to do, and their
Hmm.
dogs are perfectly fine.
Hmm.
Okay. I have plenty of dogs who have had issues. The owners are
Hmm.
doing all that stuff and they'll ask me the same thing. Should we start implementing this? I go, no, it doesn't matter because it's not related. Because your dog's
Hmm.
problem is lunging and barking at dogs.
Hmm.
How does not sleeping in the bed affect lunging and barking at dogs?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm glad that you said your dog's e-collar trained, because that just makes things really easy now. Okay.
Okay.
What's her collar? What's the model?
Oh,
Is it a yellow remote or is it a dog
yes,
collar?
it's yellow. It's like a
Okay.
circle
Perfect.
and it's yellow. Yeah.
What's her
Yeah.
working number?
The number where she knows to respond is 28.
28. And when she
And
responded,
sometimes,
you say she
yep.
moves her little butt like she's going.
Oh, she knows.
Okay.
She knows. Yeah. It's not, yeah. I think we were at 24 one day and I said come, and she didn't start to react right away, and that was when I cranked it up. I think maybe I put it a little bit too high. I was like at a 32 and she's like and she started running towards me. But yeah, 28 is the typical number where we're at.
Okay. So I'm going to give you just the answers.
Mhm.
Okay. Because it's very simple. You just need to do the
Mhm.
work.
Okay.
Okay? So resource guarding and obedience, two separate things. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm going to explain this as best I can, but I want to make sure that you have the info to start these exercises. Very simple
Okay.
exercises. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
So when it comes to resource guarding, um, you just need to teach her a release command.
Okay.
Okay. And this applies both to the couch or whatever she's guarding, whether it be an
Mhm.
object, her dog
Mhm.
bed,
Mhm.
or something in her mouth. Is when I say out, you can say drop or whatever it
Mhm.
is does she have any, does she play tug, does she fetch, does she do anything where like you engage with her with something in her mouth?
Yes, but she's not a big toy player.
She's
Like
not a
it
big
has her moments, but it's not like my last dog. If you threw a tennis ball, ball is life, but not this one. She doesn't like to play fetch. Um, she loves to tug, but she's got to be in the mood for it. I will squeak her toys and try to get her to play. If she's not in the mood to play, she just sits there and looks at me.
okay. Anything that she engages with.
Food.
Okay. So, and I have a video that I can send you.
Okay.
Um, just make a note here. Send video. Okay. So I'm gonna. Did you train her yourself, or did you work with a trainer?
I did both.
You did both. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I did
like, you
both.
feel pretty comfortable with how e-collar works.
Yes.
Okay. And who's the
Oh,
trainer?
I'm sorry, the off leash training, I sent her away for 2 weeks to somebody. Yes.
Okay. Who was your
Yep.
trainer?
His name is Armando Morales, and he's in
Oh, I
Albany,
think
New
I know
York.
who that is.
Do you? Oh,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who that is.
yeah, he's in Albany.
Okay. So, um, uh, what I would do, and you're gonna have some issues here because she's not toy motivated.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to use her food.
Mm-hmm.
But what you would do is, so 28 sounds like her, what I call working level. Okay.
Okay.
That's the number that makes her little butt move.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't want to start with that number for this exercise because you're going to
Okay.
make her too panicked.
Got it.
Okay? We would
Okay.
dip it. I'd probably go down with an educator, probably down to an 8 to a 12.
Okay.
Okay.
On
And
shock or vibrate?
I always use stim.
Okay.
Okay. I don't
Got
use
it.
the vibrate function,
Okay.
um, especially for stuff like this. So
Mm-hmm.
what we do is it's pressure on when you need her to stop something or to do something. Okay. So
Okay.
like sit, stem, right?
Yep.
Put her in a sitting position. Or if she's chasing a squirrel, stem to stop her from
Mm-hmm.
chasing the squirrel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what we want to teach her is how to back away from food using pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in the video that I'm going to send you, I'm working with the client actively. We're using bacon because her dog has resource
Yep.
guarding as well. Okay. So
Okay.
that'll help you kind of have a visual.
Got it.
Is let's say what's her favorite food?
Rotisserie chicken.
Perfect. Okay. You grab a piece of rotisserie chicken, you put it in your hand, you have it nice and covered up. Okay.
Yep.
You have your e-collar on 8. You're gonna crouch down, you're gonna extend your hand. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not offering it, you're just extending your hand.
Mm-hmm.
She's gonna come and start licking at your hand.
Mm-hmm.
I start remoting, tap,
Mm-hmm.
tap, tap, tap
Mm-hmm.
on 8. She's
Mm-hmm.
still licking.
Mm-hmm.
10,
Mm-hmm.
12,
Mm-hmm.
14. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
slowly going up until
Yep.
you see her back away from the food.
Okay.
16, for example.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
16, she backs away from the food. Oh,
Sorry.
you're
Somebody
okay.
was trying to call me. Yep.
She backs away. I wait a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. She keeps there. Good. And then you give her a little piece of rotisserie chicken.
Okay.
Okay. And then I get another strip. Bring it back
Mm-hmm.
out. She starts licking again. I tap.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Mm-hmm.
let's say on 16, she just right away just backs away.
Mm-hmm.
She holds. Right. Good. And I reward her again. Another
Okay.
strip. Right. So what we're doing here is you're teaching her to back away when
Mm-hmm.
she feels pressure. Okay.
Okay.
The reason why you need to do lower is if you come in at 28 or 34, whatever, she's going to go
Mm-hmm.
and run.
Right.
Too powerful.
Yeah.
You need something that you can practice consistently.
Okay.
And what we do is once she realizes that pressure means to back off,
Mm-hmm.
now we start to label it.
Okay.
Okay. So like, let's say I give her an antler. Okay. If she likes antlers,
Yep. Yep.
she takes it, she's chewing on it.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her collar on.
Mm-hmm.
I let her have it for 15 minutes. And I come up, and you don't need to get close.
Yep.
You can be 10 feet away from her. And I
Yep.
go, Jessie, out. And
Okay.
once I cue the word out, I immediately hit and I call her 16. She
Mm-hmm.
backs away. Then I wait.
Mm-hmm.
She tries to go for it again. I tap her. No words.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm reinforcing the first command.
Okay.
She backs away,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then maybe she backs away only a foot and the bone's right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Still within striking range.
Mm-hmm.
So then what I do is I tap again, and what you might see is Jessie gets up and walks away.
Okay.
Then I go to approach the bone or the
Mm-hmm.
antler, and then I pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what I've taught
Yep.
her is when I say out, it means release
Mm-hmm.
what you have and leave the
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I like my brain is trained to say leave it Is
Yeah,
that
you can leave.
okay? Or does it okay. All right. I didn't know if it had to be a
No,
shorter
that was
word.
my
I was like,
example.
"Oh God, I'm gonna struggle with this." Okay. All
Now,
right.
now the way my brain works is leave it is something she doesn't have in possession yet,
Oh, okay. All right. I was taught
right?
to use leave it like when I want her to drop something.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine. It's just in my brain,
Okay.
I go,
Yeah.
like the dog doesn't care.
Yeah.
Okay, just but understand what you're using it for, because typically leave
Mhm.
it is a preemptive command,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
drop it would be, oh, you have something now, release that.
Okay.
Okay,
I could do drop it. Out would be hard for me to
yeah, no,
remember,
that's
but
fine. I
drop
don't
it
care what
would
you
be
use.
okay. All right.
I
Got it.
asked you, and you can use leave it. I'm just explaining to
Okay.
you the difference. Okay,
Yep. That makes sense.
so you would cue your word and immediately follow up with with the remote, because it
Mhm.
has to be instant.
Yep.
Okay, so leave it or drop it means
Mhm.
relinquish it's in your mouth
Mhm.
and leave the situation.
Mhm.
The reason why we push for the leave is
Mhm.
because people will see the dog drop the object, the dog will
Mhm.
back away,
Yep.
still staring. So
Yep.
when the hand starts to come in, the dog
Mhm.
goes.
Got it. Yep.
So when you ask for more space, we remove
Mhm.
that option.
Mhm.
And whenever I approach something that a dog has relinquished, and I know
Mhm.
I'm dealing with a resource guarder,
Mhm.
I've seen dogs, they'll back off 6 feet. And as I approach the bone and I
Mhm.
start to crouch down, I'm watching the dog.
Yep.
And from 6 feet away, it's super
Mhm.
rare, the dog will
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, engage
Yep.
the object and they'll charge. Right.
Okay.
So then if I see them lock on again, even if they're six
Mhm.
feet away, I'll remote them. No
Mhm.
words. Because what I'm saying, when I say drop it, it's
Mhm.
relinquish it, move away, and it's
Mhm.
off limits.
Okay.
Okay. And then I pick it up and I put it away, or I can even give it back to them as a reward and say, good job, here you go, you
Mm.
can have it again. Okay.
Okay.
So the reason why we're doing this is this gives you controlled context to build the skill.
Yep.
Okay. And you'd have to drill it and practice and practice and practice
Mhm.
until one day, if she's out and she picks up a dead squirrel and
Mhm.
you're like, you shouldn't have that,
Mhm.
drop it.
Yep.
She spits it
Yep.
out. Now we don't have to worry about going in her mouth and potentially
Mhm.
risking a resource guarding moment, because
Mhm.
she's just
Okay.
thinking, I'm surrendering this because you told me to, because there will be consequence if I don't.
Yep.
Okay. And
Okay.
now we still address the situation while avoiding the aggressive response.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think I'm gonna have to go over the steps, but you said that you break it down in the video that you're gonna send me.
Yeah. You see me working with the dog, and I do different,
Mhm.
because her dog had an issue with uh, if a piece of food fell and her dog and another dog went at the same time, they would
Mhm.
fight.
Got
So
it.
she has more added steps than you do.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
But then
Okay.
also this will be up at some point on my YouTube. So
Okay.
if you come back and you look up Jessie
Mhm.
on my channel, you can
Mhm.
revisit this section to get those steps again. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So we're working outside of the problem,
Yep.
right? We're working with what we know she loves, and we know she loves rotisserie
Mhm.
chicken or whatever they may
Mhm.
be.
Yep.
You do want to be mindful not to drill it too much, because um, you'll dissuade her from wanting to take anything.
Got it.
Okay.
Mhm.
So once I teach the concept of the backing away,
Mhm.
I practice it through application. So
Mhm.
I might give her a bone for like 1 minute for one day for 30 minutes,
Yep.
and then I come back and I do the release, right? But I wouldn't do give her something, release, give her something, release, give her something, release, back and forth, because then she's going to be like, this is not fun,
Right.
right? That's
Yeah.
why I asked if she likes tug or anything, because if there's
Mhm.
something that the dog will drive for
Mhm.
and they're so intense on it, it's something that
Yeah.
we can drill out and we can get there
Mhm.
faster. But if they don't,
Yeah.
it's a longer process. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the resource guarding of the bed or whatever that object is, it's the same
Mhm.
process.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say she sneaks up on the corner of the bed, and
Mhm.
I just assume I've had an issue with you here. So I'm not going to try to shove you off, because if I shove you off, I know I'm going to get that response.
Right.
So I would cue the word, leave or leave it, go away, whatever you want to use. You start using the remote until she flushes off of the object.
Okay.
So now you're avoiding the physical aspect, because that's where the tension is happening.
Yep.
Right? The tension is happening because you're trying to physically remove her, and she's like, hey, find her slippers, I was here first. Okay?
Yeah.
And because she's a dog, she's like, I'm willing to fight for it. How about you? Right? So again, that's just primal dog. And so what I'm doing is I'm still getting the same result. I'm still removing her from the space. I'm just avoiding the confrontation. And that's what e-collar is so effective, because there's no confrontation.
Yep.
She doesn't know it's coming from you, right? And most people think, when we deal with resource guarding, they think they're going to come in until the dog becomes aggressive, right? So most people think, oh, if my dog resource guards the bed, I'm going to have the e-collar on them, I'm going to approach them, and I'm going to piss them off. And when I see them get pissed off, then I'm going to remote them. That's wrong.
Oh, no. Okay.
That's wrong.
Yeah.
Because now you've created conflict. Okay. So once that conflict is in play, now the dog has a target. Okay. And I don't know that I know the guy Armando. I don't know his style of e-collar, but if it's not been done correctly and the owner remotes them, because there's conflict now, there's possibility dog responds as opposed to moving away. Right.
Right.
I can be across the room, 20 feet away from Jessie, and I can say, hey, move, and start tapping and make her move and not trigger anything.
Yep.
So you're preventing the confrontation. You're not putting yourself in a situation where things may escalate and you're putting yourself at risk. And you're still creating the same result.
Okay.
So instead of forcing the issue, I go, I know it's going to happen. So I'm going to just tell you to move and remote you.
Right.
Right. And the dog, she clears the space. And then over time, because you have to teach the skill.
Yep.
Right. And like my dogs, if they're on the couch and I go to sit down, they get off the couch automatically.
Yep.
Because they respect me and my presence. Like, if a dog comes in to claim something from another dog, if this dog is submissive, they'll clear the space for this dog to enter. Right. So in your case, she's confronting you when you try to push her away, because now you're saying, hey, I want you to move. And she's like, no, I don't want to. I'll fight you for it. Right. So if I just start remoting her and making it unpleasant, if I just say something, we don't get the issue. Okay. And then it's just repeating these things until eventually you don't need the remote anymore. Okay.
So does this mean that she should be wearing her e-collar in the house?
When you're going to do these exercises.
Okay.
Okay. So
because she knows, like, how do I say this? That she knows when that collar goes on, like it's I need to pay attention. When that collar's not on, right? So this is why I'm asking the question.
Yeah. So the reason why we have that issue is, do you drive?
Yes.
Do you go on the expressway? Do you go the speed limit?
No.
Okay. So why is that?
I don't know. It's like a general guideline.
Really? I know. I think if you read the law, it's pretty clear. You don't go over 70. Right? The reason is it's called opportunistic behavior.
Okay.
There's no cop cars. Who's going to give me a ticket? Because that's the only person that can give me a consequence, other than if I got in an accident. Right? Is if you see a squad car, what are you going to do?
Slow down.
Slow down, right? All of a sudden, you know how to obey the rules. Okay. So that's what's happening with the e-collar. And this has nothing to do with Armando and his style of training, has nothing to do with the tool. Think of that e-collar as a cop on a collar. Okay. So that's why repetition is so key. Is for everything else, heel, recall, and all that stuff. When you're outside, like, because you have the collar on, because you're outside, obviously you're going to have control. But now we have something that may happen when she's not with the collar,
Yep.
right? Because you're not anticipating, oh shit, she found a piece of beef jerky underneath my couch,
Right.
right?
Yep.
She doesn't have her collar on because I wasn't planning on that, right?
Yep.
Is when you practice the drop or the leave it, it's like you're looking at, in my opinion, months of training, because it's not something you can drill.
Right.
Right? You can drill the recall, you can drill the sits, you can drill the downs, right? But now it's practicing something that she has to engage with first before you can make her disengage.
Yep.
Okay, that's what makes this longer, and also because she doesn't have any play drive. So like my pit loves tug, so teaching her out was easy because she was very driven for tug, so it never dissuaded her. And then once she learned how to release it, it applied to everything else.
Got it.
Okay. And now if she has something, if I say drop, regardless if she has the e-collar or not, it's so drilled into the brain, she just drops it.
Yep.
Okay. So yes, you are correct, but that's where practicing and practicing and practicing is going to come into play. Okay. The other thing here is the working level. Okay. So the way I would work with this, with how your dog's personality is I teach the release low level. It should be smooth. I say leave it or drop it. She immediately spits it out, whatever.
Yep.
Right. Like that. That's the response you want. Spit it out and get away. Is once that's a consistent speed and response. I don't want drop it and then, right? It's too long. I want immediate.
Yep.
Is on the obedient stuff, I would actually probably work around 32, 34.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're doing here is we're creating what I call urgency. So when you said you remoted her at 32 or 34 the other day, and you said she yipped and then just like beelined it back to you, right?
Yeah.
Is what we're doing is we're teaching the skill low level because we have to with what it entails. But then behind the scenes with other non-related things, I'm remoting her higher to make her more worried about what I say.
Okay.
Which indirectly fuels into the drop. Because she's like, damn, every time mom says, come, sit, down, heel, whatever, it's do it or boom, right? Is you're going to make her edgy because she's going to want to beat the punch. And the next thing you know, out or drop it becomes speedy. Okay. And the other thing about creating urgency is that the dog doesn't want to gamble if the collar is on or off.
Yep.
Okay. Because now there's more power.
Right.
The other thing is anytime and every time you say something and she doesn't respond within a split second, okay, is I can kick in with the remote guaranteed. I don't do vibrate. I don't do repeat. I say come. So it's come, tap, come, tap. That's literally the time frame. Come, tap. So if she doesn't respond within that half second, you're getting remoted. Okay. So when people use the vibrate or they use the repeat, come, hey, come, come, then tap, you've created delay.
Okay.
So now,
That's on me. I'll own that one. I'll take
so
it.
now you say drop it. Delay. Okay. So everything has to be do it or tap. Okay.
Got it.
So then she thinks she has that split second window and it starts to apply over everything. Okay. When you repeat, you disempower what your words mean. Okay.
Yeah.
So if like growing up, like my mom was very strict.
Yep.
Okay. She was like, I'm gonna tell you once, and if you do it, you're getting spanked. Right. And she lived up to it. So I just learned very quickly, mom doesn't play. Just behave and don't do these things if you want to avoid the consequence, right? Dogs are very much the same. Okay. So the vibrate function, I don't use it as a warning or anything like that because it creates this problem. Okay. Is I want her to know it's a guaranteed hit if you don't respond within a split second. And that's what makes her panicky about what you say, which then in turn creates very reliable responses, even without the e-collar. Because you want to be, you want to drill it in her head that when she hears it, she has to respond. There's no window to think otherwise.
Can I ask you a question? There's something about her personality that I find to be very interesting compared to my last Springer, in that I would call it a little bit of anxiety, that she is very bound to everything having an order, right? So, like, if, for example, the other night my mom wasn't feeling well, we had to take her to the ER. She wasn't here. Jessie is like, where the hell is grandma? Right? Like stuff like that. Like, if I'm not in bed at a certain time, um, and this is, I mean, I feed her at inconsistent times. I go to bed at different, like, I try to do things at varying times, but she is such, like, she needs this one more than the last one, needs this consistent order. Is that behavior falling in line with, like, kind of, I feel like it's connected to what you're telling me.
It actually just sounds like a separation anxiety,
Mm, okay.
right? Because
All right.
there are dogs with that problem where it's like, if I'm not up by a certain time, if that food bowl's not out by a certain time, if they're not on the walk a certain time, like my dog gets edgy,
Yep.
right? It's because they're so
Hmm.
stuck on and it's usually because the owner unintentionally, when the dog was a puppy, had a very strict schedule and
Hmm.
kept it so strict that the dog didn't know like a gray area, like a window,
Okay.
right? So what I would do here is, let's say you're going to go out with your mom to like run some errands or something, is I call
Hmm.
her up, and the moment she starts getting kind of like frantic, just
Hmm.
tap her at 34 or whatever. So what you're doing is you're essentially biting her for getting
Hmm.
worked up over the fact that you're leaving.
Okay.
You're stopping the behavior right away.
Hmm.
So if you start to like
Okay.
put on your shoes and then you start to see
Hmm.
her get edgy,
Yes.
before you even do anything, I just pop the collar on her, go to put on my shoes, and then she's like, "Hey, where are you going?" And then I pop her at
Hmm.
34, and I go, "It doesn't matter where I'm going."
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
and
Okay.
there's no word here
Hmm.
because aversives are meant to stop things.
Hmm.
So e-collar is an aversive. It's meant to
Yep.
stop things. Okay, but
Okay.
we can also use it to teach things like the sit, the down, the
Hmm.
come. Right, and that's a totally
Hmm.
different thing. So we
Yep.
put the dog to do something, but we can also
Hmm.
teach it to not do something. Okay.
Okay. And I think where I was going with that, Jesse, is I'm hearing that you want me to use the collar more, and I'm completely fine with that. What I don't want to be doing is making her more anxious. And that was where I was
No,
leading.
because
That's where I thought it was threading together. Okay.
no, so if she's becoming anxious, it's
Hmm.
because she's getting worked up that you're leaving.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
And the collar, you're essentially disciplining her, which for a human is different, right?
Hmm.
If a human gets anxious, we have medications, they see a
Yep.
therapist, or they talk it
Hmm.
out, right?
Hmm.
When a dog gets anxious, another dog would simply bite them.
Okay.
There is no therapy session. Okay? There is no medication. There is no CBD.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
your energy is unstable. Stop it.
Hmm.
And I've seen this
Hmm.
personally. I've seen this happen. Okay.
Hmm.
So with the e-collar, you're simply biting her. That's all you're doing.
Okay.
Okay. So you're stopping the brain from triggering or going into the response of
Hmm.
you're leaving. Where are you
Hmm.
going? Right?
Hmm.
It's you're leaving. Tap. Oh crap. What? All right. I'll leave you alone.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Because you're saying don't worry about where I'm going. Okay. So there's no
Hmm.
words here. It's just consequence.
Hmm.
Okay. And like, let's say you tap her on 34 and she gets edgier. Then I
Hmm.
go 44. She gets
Oh,
edgier. I go to
okay.
55. Right.
Hmm.
And then eventually you might see her kind of get worked up. And then maybe you do a 75 and she goes, "Ah," and she runs
Hmm.
off and lays down on the couch. Right.
Hmm.
And you might think, well, I made it worse because she kept getting more edgier until I hit
Hmm.
75. And I said, no,
Hmm.
I would tell you that the number you were currently at wasn't enough
Hmm.
to shut it down. So that's why you're
Ah,
pushing her more up. And then once you hit
okay.
75, you cracked through the anxiety and she goes,
Okay.
crap. And then she
Hmm.
goes and settles.
Oh, Okay, because I was thinking, like, as you were talking about increasing numbers, I'm thinking, am I just going to make her more panicked? You're saying then the number just isn't high enough.
Correct.
Okay,
So
got
like
it.
if I have a dog that's
Mhm.
lunging and barking,
Yep. Hmm.
25, 35,
Hmm.
still lunging, 45,
Hmm.
55, 100, jumps back, shuts up,
Okay.
right? And
So
then
I need to, yeah, I need to be utilizing the collar more. Okay. I really was just restricting it to when I was using it off leash with her. I was
yeah,
not
because that's
using
what you
it.
knew. That's how you knew to apply it. But e-collar is
Yeah.
very versatile. That's why for me it's the
Okay.
best training tool because it does
Okay.
obedience, it does behavior, it does both.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay. Now, I'm also going to send you videos on what's called a bonker. Are you
Okay.
familiar with the bonker?
Mm-mm.
It's
No.
just a rolled up towel.
Okay.
You use rubber bands or hair bands to keep it shape,
Okay.
and you essentially use it to physically correct the dog. So you whack the
Okay.
dog with it. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You can
All
use
right.
that for the anxiety stuff.
Okay.
Don't use it for the resource guarding.
Okay.
That's
Got it.
that's too confrontational. Okay.
Okay. Mhm.
If you start to use the bonker and then you
Mhm.
find she's resisting it or,
Mhm.
or or looking as if she's becoming aggressive to it, stop
Mhm.
it. Let me know. Okay.
Okay.
Because now we're getting a dog that doesn't like confrontation and will confront you
Mhm.
back. That's a totally
Okay.
different thing. Okay.
Got it.
So you
Okay.
would not use it for the resource guarding. You would use
Mhm.
it for the anxious behavior. Okay.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
going to send you 3 videos as well that you would watch. They're from another trainer named Jeff Gelman.
Okay.
How to make one, how to use one, and one of a trainer
Mhm.
actively using a bonker, so you can see just
Okay.
how forceful they correct with it. Because you
Got
got to
it.
remember, dogs bite each other.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
and I know humans they have a hard time with corrections and physicality and abuse and punishment.
Mhm.
It's the intent. I was
Mhm.
spanked, right?
Yep.
And I look back on it and I appreciate it. I'm happy that I was spanked
Mhm.
because I'm that's why I'm as disciplined
Mhm.
as I am now.
Yep.
But my mom, it hurt, but the intention was not to
Mhm.
hurt me. The intention was to
Right.
teach me to not do something, right? It's the same
Okay.
kind of concept here, but it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Mhm.
It's your energy, okay?
Mhm.
We don't scream at dogs. We don't yell at dogs.
Mhm.
We're not forcibly going after dogs. We're not doing a
Mhm.
level 10 for a level 1 behavior. We're
Mhm.
appropriate to the situation, okay?
Right. Yep.
Which, if she's really anxious and you pop her on a 4 and she's still
Mhm.
anxious, then I go to a 7,
Mhm.
because now you have to override the anxiety through a physical correction, which would
Mhm.
be more difficult than with the e-collar
Okay.
because
Okay.
e-collars just press a button
Right.
and you can
Right.
get very firm corrections on the e-collar. Whereas with the
Mhm.
bonker, if you give her your harshest correction and she's
Mhm.
just so anxious that it's not cutting through, then
Yep.
unfortunately it's not an option.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
All right. Yep.
So I
Okay.
have my notes here. I'll send you my video on the resource guarding,
Okay.
and then I'll send you the 3 videos on the bonker. And then uh, you want to start teaching her how to release an object, which is the same
Mhm.
thing as being on the couch, except
Mhm.
um, the couch one you can only really practice. Well, no, you could actually force it. Like you could tell her up,
Mhm.
and then she's on the couch, and she'd have to be on a leash. And then you would say,
Mhm.
off or whatever your word is.
Mhm.
Immediately start
Yep.
remoting until she jumps off, and you keep
Okay.
repeating.
Yep.
And then the most important training is organic training, meaning
Mhm.
she's sleeping on the couch. She happens to be collared up, and I decide
Mhm.
I'm just going to randomly ask you to get off right now.
Yep. Okay.
Okay. And you always put remote behind everything at this stage
Mhm.
because you're trying to build
Yep.
consistency so that she
Mhm.
thinks it's going to be a guaranteed remote hit
Mhm.
uh, unless she complies.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Got it. Oh, did you say what else?
Questions?
Oh, no, I'm like, you gave me a lot of information. I'm hoping that I like I was trying to be very present so I didn't take notes.
Yeah. No,
I'm looking
this
forward.
video will be up again too. So you can refer to
Perfect.
this later. Yeah, it'll be a couple
Okay.
of days. Um,
Yep.
but I'll get you these videos. I got a client right now, but I'll get you these videos either
Mhm.
today or tomorrow.
Okay.
And then, it's going to be a little bit of time for the formal stuff.
Mhm.
Stopping
Yep.
stuff, easy, because it's just
Mhm.
don't do that. Okay.
Okay.
Teaching stuff hard because you
Hmm.
have to teach a skill. Okay.
Right.
So expect that to take
Okay.
time.
Okay. I appreciate your time. This was really helpful, Jesse. Thank you for letting me know that we can do something about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
No worries. Okay. If
Okay.
you have questions, let us know. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.